And you very interestingly have been unabashedly combining like a how to interview your parents book and a very personal memoir that does strengthen both. And it's also funny, but like that had to have been very hard kind of potion to mix to get all those components together and reasonably convey like, no, this book really is all of these things and they support each other and they have to coexist. And I don't want to separate them. Don't put me in a box. Let me do this original cool thing. I can do it.
A lot of how-to books could be a one-page PDF. And I refuse to do that. I could tell you how to interview your parents in a one-page PDF.
It's the post you wrote 5 years ago.
The post I wrote it's the post. And it's like to just try and drag that out with statistics and different story. Like, I don't know that people want to read that. I mean, it's a book that maybe people will get as an impulse purchase to virtue signal in some way. A lot of people buy books just to virtue signal. They don't actually plan on reading it or want to be surprised. But I felt like the story, there's a narrative thrust here that's important for me to tell that you can't get into a PDF. And ultimately, what that narrative thrust is what you will get out of this project. If you're going to write a book about how to interview your parents, you can't write that without showing what it did for you. Talk about being a little bitch. Like, what? I'm going to tell you to go do this scary thing, and I'm not going to be honest about how scary it was for me and what I got out of it and the interviews that failed, like all that. I mean, that's the good stuff. I think that's what is allowing a reader to trust you, right? Is for you to go through that process and show on the other end what happened. And I also knew that maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think that if I were to just write my first book as a memoir about growing up in this small surf town, wanting to be a pro surfer, having this really close relationship with my mom, having her fall to conspiracy theories, me getting mad growing up and having it be a story of growing up and learning more about what she went through when she was a kid and how that maybe informed her beliefs now. Like, you could probably write that book, but I don't know that it would be as relatable to as many people. And I enjoy on some level the helpfulness of this book. One thing that we did that was a last minute decision and was not even my idea. Man, it was an idea from a friend of mine who's been a very successful author, Neil Strauss, who's written a number of bestsellers. He said you should write the chapters as questions so that people can just use the questions as chapter headings. How can you create unexpected value where normally a chapter is just like, you can skip over the name of it, right? Like,
label,
what if you make that into like a big part of it? And I took his advice wisely. And that is another area that people are really enjoying. Like, they're not actually interviewing their parents necessarily. They're just bringing the book to open up and then ask questions around the dinner table. In terms of this thing being an odd duck, figuring out ways to create unexpected value for a reader is something that you should be thinking about, right? And just because the industry does it one way, like maybe that's a signal that you shouldn't be doing it that way. In branding, for example, the best advertisers I know will see an industry standard. They'll see wellness, for example. What is wellness? If you're going to start a wellness brand, close your eyes and tell me what would that look like? Well, it'd be like kind of soft, maybe feminine, like pretty sanctimonious, zen. Okay, what's Mudwater, right? Like that dude does jujitsu and it's funny and it's irreverent and like, so you're taking this healthy thing, but we're going to move it over into almost like comedy masculine area. And that's what's going to get attention. And I think that for authors, if you're going to write a book, like a self-help book, go the opposite direction. Otherwise, how do you expect to get any attention? It's just going to get lost in a sea of sameness. So yeah, I mean, there were a few things that I did that I'm happy I did because they were able to create unexpected value for the reader.